All right, guys, so a little update on the 1957 Chris Craft 31 Corsair wooden boat. I know this was a much anticipated project, and just to cut straight to the point, we did discover on the bottom of the boat that some fore and aft planks that are structural, that the rudder is mounted into the strut and prop shaft strut, the engines are mounted to, the lateral stringers are mounted to, need to be replaced. And in this shop, we don't have any way to suspend the boat in the air to actually replace those planks, as they are structural and the boat is sitting on that weight currently. So because of that, it was going to be too much money for the customer, and because we're not tooled up to do that, we are going to move on from this project. So the customer is actually opening up this project to anybody else that wants it. If you are interested in this boat, please reach out to me. We're going to do a full walkthrough in this video of everything going on with it, the hull sides, the top sides, the engines, all the components are fully repairable for the right person. And if you know somebody that can replace those bottom planks and has the right setup to do it, this would be the perfect project for you. So let's get into the boat, show you the good, the bad, the ugly. And if you got any questions, leave a comment or shoot me an email, ben@boatrestorationbyben.com, and I'll be happy to get you in touch with the owner or answer any questions that you have. Looking to get this boat moved out of here by, at the very latest, the end of March. There's a lot of good components here. The engines are good. A lot of good chrome pieces, the windshields, the cleats, even the brass screws that are really hard to come by. Very expensive components on this boat. So there's a lot of good here that's worth saving. So anyway, let's jump into what's going on with this whole boat, and I'll answer any questions in the comments or in my email. All right, thanks. All right, so here's the 57 Chris Craft that we had in for potential restoration. The first thing that we were the most concerned about was this deck hull joint here, which was rotten at the joint. We pulled back some boards. You can see these are all labeled B, C, D, E, F, G. We pulled all the way down. You can see the bungs removed there. These boards themselves actually looked okay. Single plank hull. Obviously, where they're rotten, need to be replaced, which was doable. A couple core samples there into the wood, and then obviously these pieces here would get replaced, but all that was replaceable. That was our biggest concern, was a double laminate 2-plank hull. Ended up being 1 plank, which was fine. But moving on from that deck hull joint, probably most of this section here was the worst of it on the hull side. The port side actually didn't look too bad at all. Didn't get far into removing paint here. Started with the worst side on the starboard hull side. The next spot, however, was the keel. Right here at the front, you can see it's dry now, but we were concerned about this keel board that stretches the length of the boat. This was the worst spot. We chipped it out here. It was rotten all the way through, so that section would have needed to be replaced. You can see it starts right there and then runs backwards. Not sure how far till it transitions, but that was the next piece. Heading back, we actually stripped down to the hull side and then to the joint where it connects to the bottom. Not terrible once you get rid of the paint. It actually looks fairly salvageable. Again, everything's dried out in this section here. The biggest concern was, as we moved to the back, here are all those pieces of brass hardware that are really expensive, hard to come by, so we saved all of those. But let me get around here to the back of the boat. So we pulled the bottom transom board where it joins for the hull bottom, and then the planks that run fore and aft. So we actually removed this exterior. It's a double planked boat on the bottom. There's these exterior boards that run the whole length of the hull bottom and then are drilled or screwed directly to the main hull planks on the bottom. So what we were finding here is actually these boards themselves are all wet and rotten underneath or above of those red boards that you see there. Obviously in the corners we had some concerns about separation, and then this board itself as well would need to be replaced, which was doable. But as you get into the bottom hull boards that run pretty much the full length of the hull, that is the big concern, is pulling off the bottom pieces that are about a 1/2 inch thick and then exposing the main support boards for the bottom. Many of those need to be replaced, and there's really no way to do them partially. You can't just cut and then replace with the way that the boat's sitting on these jack stands. You would actually need to suspend the boat somehow to pull those boards off and replace them the length of the boat. So that was the major concern. Again, at the back here you can see spots where water was getting in and started to rot. The corners were especially bad. Spot here that had been sealed prior, that we exposed, and then a couple spots on the bottom that were beginning to bulge as well, that were of concern. So these boards that are on the bottom, we believe, are what you can see from the top. It's painted with bilge coat. Over here again, so as we pulled away the hull side, this exterior board, it exposes the inside, which is all wet, and it's still drying out and is eventually going to be dry rotten once it is dried out. But you can see here clearly the 1/2 inch board and then the big 1 inch boards that run fore and aft on the bottom. So that's our big holdup. Somehow, some way, you would need to suspend the boat to replace those, which we aren't geared up to do here in this shop. So overall, I mean, everything on the top side, let me hop up there real quick to show you the top side real quick. Hopefully peek inside the bilge, just give you an idea what's going on the top side of the boat. Top sides are definitely savable for sure. New varnish, new paint, all of that. But with the work that needs to go into the bottom, doing the work up here would not be worth it until that bottom was properly repaired. So getting into the top of the boat here, lots of varnish work for the deck, and then the exposed boards on the outside. We were talking new canvas, which would turn into fiberglass all throughout the top of the boat. Nice components inside here. You've got one of the hatches open, exposing one of the Chrysler inline sixes, which we believe are in decent shape and salvageable. But this is a good shot into, got our fuel tanks there, but let me step down in here. Good shot into the boards on the bottom of the boat. You can see a couple secondary boards mounted in here, but underneath that are the 1 inch boards that we're talking about that would need to be stripped and replaced, which you can see a lot of stuff is mounted to, especially our rudder. That's a rudder right there. Our shaft comes out right there into the bottom. Again, all of that would need to be unmounted to replace those bottom boards on the bottom of the boat, which is impossible to do with how we have it currently blocked, unfortunately. So keeping all of this stuff intact and removing those bottom boards will remove all of the support for the major components in here, like the engine, fuel tanks, running gear, which is a big project. So let me sneak around to the bow. I'll show you the bow real quick. On the bow itself, again, canvas tops. There was only one spot up here that was really concerning, but you guys can see the chrome. It's actually in really good shape. The spotlight, the horn, beautiful glass windshield. Here's some more of that canvas that was starting to fail, exposing the top of the roof. That would all need to be sealed back up with fiberglass mat. But our one spot up here, we had that rotten portion right here at the deck hull joint where water was pooling and then seeping through and rotted out that deck hull seam right here on the starboard side. Again, nice chrome hardware. Then right back here was the one spot of the deck. It's all dried out now, but this is all dry rotted wood that from here back to where it transitions and then up forward would need to be replaced as well. Again, nice hardware for the forward windscreen that goes into the cabin. We'll peek into the cabin here real quick and show you that. All right, sneaking into the cabin, we've got carpet, flooring. Seems pretty solid. Definitely, obviously, any soft goods would need to be replaced. The ceiling exposed, but overall the cross ribs are actually in decent shape. No real soft spots on the floor of this boat. Again, lots of varnish work inside here. Little kitchenette area. Nothing crazy. I mean, there is water and rot that got in here, or that caused rot just from sitting over time. It's not going to let me open the bathroom door with the way this carpet is, but bathroom same as the inside here, but just a little build out. So that's the cabin. And up forward here, looks like it stayed pretty dry. We've got canvas that's sealing the side before you get exposed to those planks of wood to access those from the inside. So overall, the top of the boat isn't the worst of everything. Unfortunately, you know, this would have all been redoable. It's the bottom that is the real concern, and the tooling equipment that we have is not geared up to do that. So if somebody else is interested in repairing this bottom and then bringing this beautiful old boat back to life, it'd be a great project. It does have a couple engines in it that allegedly did run with a little tune up. Hopefully they run and drive again. Here's a better look at that. The awesome hardware on the gauges. None of them are cracked. Still have their chrome finishing. I'm told the shifters and throttles were replaced at one point or modified. So that's the boat. Let me know if you have any further questions. We do have all of the wood that came off of the boat. Here's a couple additional planks we left on the side here from that starboard hull side that we pulled off. This forward one here, and then this is that backboard for the transom that we removed to expose the rotten structural pieces right there. And then just as a recap, here's where those rudders and struts are mounted, which again you'd have to pull both layers of boards off, pull those out, and then replace the boards that run laterally fore and aft. Alright, so there you have it, guys. I do think this boat is worth saving. It's just more money than the customer and the current owner wants to spend on this. This boat, if you look it up, is only ever going to be worth $35,000 to $50,000, and it was going to be more than $50,000 just to put into this boat to make it safe to run and drive on the water with the work that the bottom needs. Then it's actually worth to the customer. So because of that, the customer's going to pass. I'm going to pass on this boat as well, and we're going to try and find this boat a new home. So if you're interested, please shoot me a comment, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to get you in touch with the current owner and answer any of your questions. I need this boat out of here by the end of March at the latest. And we do have contacts for trucking. We personally can help load it, and I'm sure if needed be, we can refer you to marinas and even boat shops that do work like this or would take a boat like this. I think it is also on the table that the customer would get rid of the boat, and you could part out and sell any of the components that you may be interested in, especially the inline six Chryslers that are hard to find, and a lot of the chrome and hardware pieces that are on this boat. So I know to many people's disappointment is going to go away, but it's for the best interest of the customer, and at the end of the day, probably in the best interest of the boat. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.